I'm Margaret Lowe. I'm WBUR's CEO, and this is actually the third of our member-only events, and it's really designed just for you, for our most devoted listeners. For those of you who may have been here, our first member event was when Bob Oakes passed the morning edition mic to Rupa Shenoy, and then the next one we did was in the spring when Meghna Chakrabarty, host of On Point, took us behind the scenes with her senior editor. Tonight is something actually a little bit different. It's a sneak preview of our new morning podcast, what we hope is going to become a must-listen daily download for Greater Boston audiences hungry for really an original take on what's unfolding in the city and the region. And we know that hundreds of thousands of people turn to us on the radio every day, and they turn to us online. We also know that there are a lot of people out there who would like a quick, on-demand offering, which would be high-quality journalism that fosters understanding, connection, and a sense of community, and also something novel and smart, and what we like to think of as somewhat voicey. So you are actually with us. It's nice. It's an intimate crowd. You're with us in early innings. The show has not launched yet. That will happen in the fall, and we're still noodling with the show's name. But what we do have is a first-class team in place with a clear sense of the show's value proposition and what they want it to sound like and feel like. And we're excited to take you along for a ride and to get your take on what we have cooking. So with that, please welcome the host of our forthcoming podcast. We think he is the kind of person you'd love to meet for an iced coffee and a hot take on the news. Meet Darryl C. Murphy.
Hello, hello, hello. How's everybody feeling? Good, good. Let me get my notes. Thank you for taking the time to come out tonight. This is really dope. I just had a moment in the green room, like, this is nuts, man. So yeah, thank you so much for this. I really appreciate it. And of course, WBUR, CitySpace. This is great. So yeah, we are here tonight to celebrate, in a sense, talk about what we've got coming up in the fall. So first, I'll introduce myself again. I'm Darryl C. Murphy, currently the host of WBUR's Consider This. How many of you listen to Consider This? Okay, Beth. So, I mean, yeah, some of y'all in there, y'all supposed to listen to okay. Now, but so some of you have been probably have been hearing the show over the past few weeks, past month or so. And you kind of already have a sense of what we what we got cooking up for you. And so tonight we're going to play some samples. But yeah, my name is Darryl C. Oh gosh, my name is Darryl C. Murphy. And I just kind of want to go backtrack a little bit and just give you some of my story, what brought me here. I've been in journalism for about 6 years now. Got my start in Philadelphia at a really small, hyper-local paper called The Notebook, where we went around and reported on the schools in this city. That was a really good start for me because it really taught me the importance of community. And it also taught me, how systems works and how systems are just basically people, just people together, like handing things off, and sometimes it's not so good, and learning how to understand them and not only just report on the bad things, but also celebrate the good. And like I said, a lot of it comes down to just being in tune with the community as you do this work. You know what I mean? And, from there, I ended up at WHYY, just getting into public radio and doing, again, these stories where I carried that sense of community with me and that knowledge of how things worked. And that is something that, I've always wanted to be, central to what I do as a journalist, to just make sure that it's useful to people. You know what I mean? It's useful not only to, you know, the folks in the offices or the officials in the offices or whatever, but, you know, to the people who got to get to work. You know what I'm saying? What do these laws and policies mean for my day-to-day? What does this do for my bills and stuff like that? And while at WHYY, I reported on transportation, which I gotta say is nothing like it is here. I mean, woo, SEPTA is a cakewalk. Man. So, and again, you know, that experience coupled with the public radio was really an opportunity for me to get out there and be with people face to face. You know, when you do print, it's, I don't know, when you do print, it's, you spend a lot of time like writing notes and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? It's a different kind of listening, but when you do public radio, it's like you're with that person, you're in the moment with them. And I'm somebody, I like to talk to people. I like to kick it with people. I'm not too stiff. And, you know, I try to be, you know, I'm a reporter and I'm asking a question, like, I'm kicking it with you, you know? So don't mind the microphone, we're hanging out. You know what I mean? That's the kind of reporting that I like to do. And, you know, you meet some like really interesting people that way. Like, I love a good take, and I love a good voice. I love it when people curse. You know what I'm saying? Like, just be natural, be real, you know? And, you know, I try to have fun with that and highlight that in the work. And, you know, from WHYY, covering transportation, I got the opportunity to cover business here. And I kind of finagled that into a bit of a transportation beat as well. You know, I felt like I was real passionate about that. And there is a business angle to transportation as well. So I took that here, and, you know, WBUR is just like, it's great. It's like a playground for me. You know what I'm saying? It's just there's a lot of freedom here and a lot of people who are willing to help you develop as a journalist, you know, and, you know, just this opportunity to host this show and carry all that, carry all those experiences and be able to kind of like dump it here and just play with it like a bunch of Legos is just awesome. And, you know, while I'm talking about the show, I definitely want to take a moment and give a humongous shout out to the WBUR newsroom, all the reporters and producers, and CitySpace folks who come on the show and just kind of like rocked with us through figuring out how we want it to sound and what it is. We've had some awkward moments in there, and they stuck with us and they worked with us, and it's been great. And I got to give another shout out to the two producers. You may have seen her on the digital flyer here, Franny Monahan. She couldn't be here tonight, but you know, she is she's in it. Like, she and I are in the trenches like every day, you know, trying to make this show the best it can be. And also, I got to give a big shout out to Wilder Fleming as well, who's also been like a great help just in being himself, you know, and pulling some great stories and putting them together really well. So I want to definitely give a shout out to everybody there. Can we just like give them a round of applause? So yeah, so, you know, tonight I'm going to play you guys some clips, and I want to get your opinions on what you're listening to, and I want to know if you want to see more of it, if you want to see something a little different, if you don't want to see it at all, that's fine. This is a time for us to kind of just kind of like listen to you and gather some feedback, you know, on what we've been working on for the past few weeks. So without much further ado, I'm going to introduce our first clip. It's, let me make sure I got this correct. We did an interview with an arts fellow. Her name is Lauren Williams, and she went out and did a story about a skate club that is specifically geared towards women and gender non-conforming people who are getting into skateboarding but kind of find it a little bit intimidating. So they formed this group, and they go on these group rides throughout the city. So she tagged along with them, and she did a cool story, and she came by and talked to us about it. So here it is. From the newsroom of WBUR, I'm Darryl C. Murphy. Welcome to Boston. Did you pick up a pandemic hobby? Mine is coffee. Every morning, I make myself some sort of espresso drink, a latte, Americano, or cortado. I grind the beans, pull the shot, froth the milk if needed, attempt some kind of latte art, and then sit on my couch and sip. It truly brings me joy every morning. Others have found that joy in skateboarding, particularly a lot of women and girls. It's an activity you can do alone, an inexpensive way to travel, and from the looks of it, it's pretty damn fun. But getting started can be intimidating. That's where the Lonely Bones Skate Club comes in. It's a group dedicated to women and gender non-conforming folks who want a safe and welcoming place to skate. WBUR's Lauren Williams hit the skate park with Lonely Bones, and she's here with us today to talk about it. Lauren, thank you for coming through. How's it going?
Thanks for having me. It's going well. I'm excited to be here.
Excellent. So tell us about the Lonely Bones.
So the Lonely Bones are a skateboarding collective based in Boston. The group was founded in the summer of 2020 by Raven Tate and Claire Lee, and the collective has really grown since then. The summer of 2020 was the perfect time to start something like this. Skateboarding exploded over the pandemic. Sales of skateboarding equipment in the US increased by 118%. And so, yeah, it's a group for women, gender non-conforming skaters, trans people, skateboarders of color, disabled people. It's for anyone who is on the margins of skate culture. They host events like new skateboarder clinics, clothing swaps, live music. It's really cool.
Awesome. Now, you met with them for a group ride. Set the scene for us. What was that like?
Yeah, it was special. I really started to understand the gap that the group was filling when I went. People were all sprawled out in the grass at JFK Memorial Park. A DJ was spinning hyperpop. There were skateboarders and rollerbladers everywhere. And it was a super hot day, but as soon as you walked up to the group, people were smiling and laughing. It felt really inclusive and genuinely very friendly, and I think that's what surprised me the most because it was palpable. There was a point when I was just kind of sitting off on the side taking it in, and every person that walked by would say hi and, wave. You could tell people felt really comfortable there.
That's pretty dope, right? I mean, well, wait. Do you, whatever. I'm probably not supposed to ask that, right? So now we want your feedback. So do me a favor, if you could get your phones out and head to slido.com. I'm going to give y'all some time. When you do that, go to WBUR, enter WBUR. And in there, you'll find two questions. Your first question is, and I want to clarify that when we ask about a feature, a feature is kind of like a one-time deep dive story into something, and that's kind of a feature. There's a segment where that's going to be a repeating thing, like a regular thing that has a theme that you're probably going to hear every so often, maybe every week or 2 weeks or a month or something like that. But the first question is, in a daily local news podcast, how often would you like to hear arts content, be it a feature or be it a segment? Would you like to hear it once a month, twice a month, or once a week? So that's what we have. So I'm going to give you some time to answer. Nice. Okay, so 2/3. I like that. That's cool. All right. Now, next question. In a daily local news podcast, how often would you like to hear local recommendations, such as arts, exhibits, plays, restaurants, etc.? Almost. Who's the 6%? Oh, all right. That's funny because we actually just did a show with Candace here, and it was basically a bunch of recommendations for restaurants and stuff like that. It was a lot of fun. So get ready. You're going to be coming back. Okay, so, all right. All right, moving along. Thank y'all for that. This next one is a bit more of it's a more serious episode. This one, I found it really interesting because, we're in the grips of this addiction crisis, opioids and things like that. And our reporter, Martha Biebinger, had done a story in Brockton about the increase in overdoses, and particularly an increase in overdoses among Black users. One thing that kind of gets overlooked in the opioid addiction crisis, the overdose crisis, is that Black men have been hit really hard. They kind of like feel the weight of that the most. And I was just, that was something that I was always interested in for years. When I found out that she was doing this story, I really wanted to sit down and talk with her about it. And so we're going to play a clip. Before we go, I'm really curious to know about your experience in reporting this. You did a pretty lengthy radio piece, I believe about 16 minutes long. You spent a lot of time putting this story together. How did you take care of yourself through reporting this?
So there's a lot of despair on the streets in Brockton and other cities where people are suffering from addiction without getting the help they need. But there's also a lot of hope and resilience. And God, is that inspiring to see people, how they manage to keep living against really all odds. I find that kind of raw experience the stuff of life. And so that's really powerful for me. And, there are stories of people who find a way out, and like Will Newton, the guy who's the singer and who now spends his a good part of his life trying to help other people, trying to find the music that's going to connect them to a life outside of the focus on drugs. And then I'll also mention, like, one of my very best friends, somebody who I talk to pretty much every day. She's also an addiction reporter. And so if I need to just dump, just like vent, just like cry for a little bit, she's always there. And that helps a lot.
Those support systems in the newsroom, it's so important. Yeah. Well, thank you, Martha, for sharing that. And that's all for today. From the newsroom of WBUR, I'm Darryl C. Murphy. I'll talk to you tomorrow. So that's an example of the kind of discussions we want to have to just kind of highlight the fact that, journalists, that, behind all this practice of like neutrality and being objective and all of that, we are people, and I think the last 2 years have really highlighted that fact, COVID, the racial uprisings. I think it's, and also like seeing how journalists were covering that and then hearing a lot about burnout and stuff like that. So one of the things with this show we definitely want to do is just bring that to light a little bit more. And in the process, what we hope that does is build trust between you and us in the newsroom, trust us with giving you the right information and getting the story right. So with that, I want to ask a question. Does hearing a journalist speak candidly about their experience reporting a story make you feel more connected to the content and or the journalist? I like y'all. respect. Yes, but just a journalist, fair enough. I'll zip it, right? Cool. Okay, now for the next one, we had a talk with Javier Marin. He's the CEO and publisher of El Planeta. That is, I believe it's Boston's premier Spanish language publication. They cover all kinds of stories, but they make it so that the Latino community can keep up as well. Really, addressing the problem that a lot of communities have as far as like the language barrier goes and stuff like that. And what we wanted to do was we had him on to talk about housing, kind of getting both sides, where there's a lot of an increase of home ownership among Latinos, but also a lot of Latinos are kind of being pushed out of the city due to gentrification. So here's a clip from our conversation with him. Okay, so for my last question, for folks like myself who are new to the city, how can they avoid being part of the problem? Or how do I just be a good neighbor? You know what I'm saying? I think that's what I'm asking. Like, how do I be, if I'm moving to this city and I know that there's a housing and gentrification problem, what are some of the things I should be thinking about?
Yes. Well, you have a luxury job, which is you work for a media that everyone in the city listens to. Mm-hmm. So you can perceive the feeling of neighborhoods. Mm-hmm. I mean, this is the perfect, WBUR is the perfect place to understand how does it feel to live in X neighborhood, being, a minority, part of the family. So my recommendation is for any young people or newcomer to the city to listen to WBUR, of course, and learn the happenings in the city and understand where are, the old fighters, negatively speaking. So the people that still think that we should be wiped out of the city. Mm-hmm. And because there are leaders in all the industries, in all the political areas. Don't take me wrong, there are. Boston, the racist, famous Boston is still there. Yeah. But now the reality is different. The labor in this city is 50% of color. 50%. I'm not talking about residents, the labor. So that means that without us, this city just doesn't move. A good example is the food situation. We have another article in El Planeta, written, by the way, by Janet as well. Mm-hmm. When you used to see the fight for the food deficiencies in the city in the old times, there was always white people, leading the voice of these are the solutions. This is what we need to do. I'll give you an example of a few weeks ago. The Project Bread representative, Catalina Lopez, Latina. The Congress women representative, Ayanna Presley, African American. And the city councilor, Erin Murphy, white. So that's the representation of the city, and that's how everybody will believe and trust. If you look at those areas, who are your leaders and who are the people, the labor, that's when I would say you will feel better.
Understood. And that's a big deal because, outside of the area, a lot of people think of Boston as this white, racist place, hostile, but people of color here, Black people, Latino people, Asian people, like people here are thriving. Yes. and are fighting back against some of these forces.
Yes.
Javier, thank you so much. I really appreciate this.
Thank you, Darryl. Thank you for having me.
So, that's an example of how we, and I can attest to this, coming from outside of the city, the perception of Boston is not that great. Especially as it relates to racism and stuff like that. I think it's Tom Brady and then on down, right? But I would like to participate in conversations that kind of broaden that and challenge it a little bit. I think I think that's important to get perspectives like Javier and other people like that, just to kind of show that nah, this is a very diverse city and is a very rich culture here, just like any other city in the country. And sure, it's racist, but it's America. You know what I mean? We've all got a long way to go. So with that, that means, you know, we want to highlight these different voices to get these different experiences and perspectives. So the question here is, are there any local publications, alternative, cultural, non-English, or other community voices that you would like to hear from on this new podcast? And this is kind of a word cloud type of thing, so feel free to drop in your suggestions. Yep, they're on my list. Yep. Absolutely. Definitely teachers, yep. Javier's coming back. Don't worry about that. He's definitely coming back. Okay. Is that Jewish papers? That's supposed to be Jewish papers? Beth. Fantastic. Thank you for all this. Okay, and so we're going to have a little fun again with this one. And now this is Boston. It's a sports town, right? I know y'all love sports, right? Celtics, Red Sox. Who else? Bruins, right? You know, this conversation was from, I hope it's not too soon, but this was back when, a few months ago, when the Celtics were in the finals. And, you know, me and reporter Simon Rios were kind of chopping it up about the Celtics season. There's a lot of history here that happened this season, I believe particularly with Al Horford being like the first Dominican to make it to the championship. Please correct me if I'm wrong. But yeah, we're going to play a clip from that conversation.
Bro, this guy, Al Horford, is shaping up to be a legend. So just some background about Al. Coming out of Florida State, he was drafted 3rd pick in 2007 by the Atlanta Hawks. He played 9 seasons there before signing with the Celtics in 2016. He played more than 900 regular season games and over 140 playoff games before getting to an NBA Finals. So that set a record right there. No player in NBA history had played more playoff games before getting to the finals. He's also got a strong Boston connection. When he was here as an Atlanta Hawk, Big Papi David Ortiz welcomed his Dominican brother to the city at a Red Sox game.
Love that.
And ever since then, Horford has felt a connection to Boston. He gave an interview in Spanish just the other day where he mentioned his connection to the Dominican community here, especially up in Lawrence, where I guess he's a frequent presence at the restaurants.
I love that. I love that. Especially like, you know, Big Papi showing love to him. I love hearing that. I love it.
Yeah.
So does this team have any other historic standouts in this series?
Well, for one, the Warriors have the first Mexican-American player to ever make an NBA final. That's Juan Toscano Anderson. So especially for California fans and the huge Mexican population there, that's a big point of pride. And go figure, we have a huge Dominican population here. So it's like we got a representation angle going on in these NBA finals. And I'll also say it's the first time that anybody on this Celtics team has made it to the NBA finals. So definitely some firsts going on.
Let's talk about the fans real quick. Do you have any favorite reactions from them so far?
Yeah, I went down to the pro shop at TD Garden to talk to people who were gearing up, you know, buying the posters and the hats and the jerseys. And I met this guy, Angel Calderon from Roslindale. He's Puerto Rican, but his wife is Dominican. And let's listen to what he has to say.
But yeah, in the Dominican community, it's, you know, it's an amazing thing. You know, it's a huge deal. You know, he had the most playoff appearance without a finals appearance. So, you know, well deserved.
So when he was talking to me, Angel went on to publicly ask his wife for a birthday present of Celtics tickets on air. And I actually played that cut. And guess what? She actually came through.
What?
He texted me with a picture from the game Wednesday night. He said she got 2 tickets for $600 from a colleague. And they probably could have resold those for $2,000 at least. But it's working out well for our friend Angel Calderon.
Wow, that's love right there. Love a good story. I love a good happy ending. So, we want to know, how often would you like to hear sports content? That's the question. Oof. I'm gonna start taking bets next time. Okay, so for the last one here, this one was a lot of fun, and this also represents kind of what we want to do, how we want to have more fun. I really love sitting down in the studio and talking to people about these stories and things like that. But, of course, it's also important to get out there in the field, and be in these communities, like I said before, showing your face, having conversations with people, having fun. So a couple months ago, the city had closed off the street in front of the Boston Public Library on Dartmouth Street for a project they call Copley Connect. And, me, transportation guy, transit nerd, I had to go check it out. And so we went out there and we had a conversation with Yasha Franklin Hodge. He's the chief of streets for the city. And here's a cut from that. We got to the place around 5 p.m. on a Monday. There were lawn games and some folks are setting up a drum circle. Are you packing up? No, starting. Oh, they're getting started. So we came just in time for the bongos, ladies and gentlemen. Yes. They're actually djembes. My bad. Anyway, Copley Connect is part of a larger effort to make the city more friendly to pedestrians. The city also plans to expand the concept of Open Newberry Street, which closes off a section of the busy corridor to automobiles. And officials plan to host similar events in Jamaica Plain, Grove Hall, and Dorchester. How's it going?
So this is Darryl.
Hi, Darryl.
How you doing?
Yasha. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, we met before at the Fairmount.
Oh, that's
right. I met up with Boston's Chief of
Indeed.
Streets,
Good to
Yasha
see you
Franklin
again.
Hodge, to learn more about what the city is up to.
This is really an experiment. It's a chance for us to imagine what this block of Dartmouth Street could be if it didn't have cars on it.
Basically, the city wants to know what this area would look like as a continuous space without traffic slicing through.
For something like this, we're really building on the public space that's already here and the way people use that public space. We have the library, we have the park. It's a chance to kind of enhance what's here and program it in a different way. But when we're looking at our Open Streets events, these are one-day events that we'll have throughout the summer. We're looking at trying to get people out to the neighborhoods and to see their neighborhood and other people's neighborhoods in a different way.
That means closing down long stretches of road and letting people use the street however they see fit. Take a walk, ride a bike, play, dance, or if you're a local business, sell. Plus, it's a chance to draw in people from other parts of the city. But as fun as a temporary pedestrian plaza can be, even a small detour can be annoying for drivers just trying to get to their destination. The city didn't take this lightly.
We're doing a traffic study all throughout the Back Bay, counting cars, looking at if and where there's new congestion. We're also counting pedestrians, seeing where the pedestrian traffic flows. And so we're looking to understand, is this something that, doesn't make sense to do in the future? Is this something we might do occasionally? Or is this something maybe that could be permanent?
As time went on, the area really began to come alive as more people seemed to show up. For a young aspiring artist like Tur Woods, this new version of Dartmouth Street was a place for inspiration.
Because I was kind of having like writer's block. And that's why I really came out, because, you know, I'm like, all right, I'm in the city, it's nice out, you know, I'm in the house, I'm like, I want something new right now, and then I just happened to come across the street that's, you know, been blocked off since the 7th,
Right.
and that's extremely new, so I guess I can say I got what I was looking for.
Yeah, that story was a lot of fun. So my question for you is, where else would you like to see us report from? Oh yeah, this is another word cloud, sorry y'all. Stay tuned on the fishing boat. Sweet. So thank you all. I guess I'll be seeing you around at the Somerville's Tea Station. Okay, so yes, thank you so much. This was a lot of fun, and thank you for your feedback and everything. We're definitely gonna take this and put it to work, you know. Oh no. Yikes. Anyways, we are going to move on to our next phase of the show, where we like to introduce you to our guests. Please come on up. Where they split their time between Boston and New Zealand, where they own a vineyard called 12th Night Wines. A little later, we're going to get a taste of what they've been working on. Please give a round of applause to Beth and Arié Dahan. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.
So my first question, how did you get into wine?
So I'll take that one. I've been in the food and beverage industry for about 20 years. I owned a cafe and catering business, and after I sold that, I actually enrolled in the wine program here at BU. My mentor, Bill Nesto, who is the founder of the wine program, is in the front row here. A shout out to he and his wife, Fran DiSavino. So I went through the whole program and just became completely hooked on wine, and went on to teach at BU in the wine program, both undergraduate and in Metropolitan College, and I've been doing that for about 12 years. So a shout out to the BU wine program. I think I got Margaret ready to sign up, so that's great. And I brought my husband along for the ride, so.
That's beautiful. Now we're in Boston. Why wine and not beer?
You know, I've always just had a fascination with wine. My parents have always been wine lovers and just wine. And my husband's French, and you would think that he would have drunk wine. When we first met, he didn't drink any wine. So, yeah, just always loved wine.
Wow.
I love beer too, but.
Wait, so you're French and you don't drink wine?
Well, it came naturally after I met my wife. So
it's like being tall and not playing basketball, right?
Exactly.
So this is like super fascinating that you kind of split your time between here and New Zealand. Tell us about that journey between Massachusetts and New Zealand.
I'll let you.
The journey. It was a long journey, yes. It started with two of the most important women in my life, my mother and my wife. Lehman Brothers just went bankrupt, and my mother calls me out of the blue and said to me, Arié, you need to buy rock. So rock in French is pierre, and what that means is you basically need to buy real estate. That's what she said. I told my mother, you know that real estate is the reason why we got into this mess in 2008. She said, no, money is not going to be worth anything, buy real estate. So I related the story to my business partner, Max. Unfortunately, Max cannot be with us today. And I said, my mother just said that. And Max knows my mother very well. And he knows that she has one gift. She has extreme common sense. So he said, okay, we need to buy real estate. I then go home and I relate the story to my wife. And my wife says, well, you know what? There is some great real estate in New Zealand, and there's also great wineries and great vineyards in New Zealand. So before we knew it, we purchased some tickets, and we were on our way to Auckland.
So she just said real estate. She didn't say where.
No. She didn't say where, and she didn't say what type of real estate. When I told her we bought a vineyard in New Zealand, she was ready to shoot me.
Shot for the moon. I like that. Dream big.
That's right. That's right.
And tell us about how you came up with the name 12th Night.
So we bought the tickets, and I told my friends who were going to New Zealand. And one of my friends told me, which island? I was like, there are more than one island in New Zealand? I knew very little about New Zealand, to tell you. So we went to Auckland. We rented a car. It was Beth, my business partner, Max, and I. And we just went on for the ride. We basically hit every single vineyard location in New Zealand, in both the North and the South Island. So there are two islands in New Zealand. New Zealand is a magic place. It's absolutely beautiful. It's incredibly beautiful. But one of the most beautiful things in New Zealand are the stars and the sky. And I am an astronomy buff. So one night we were staying right next to a lake called Lake Tekapo, and at the top, and the lake is surrounded by mountains. At the top of the mountains, you have these huge telescopes that are open to the public, and you can go and visit them, and you can go at night and look at them, and it was fascinating. We went there at 2 o'clock in the morning. I dragged both of them, and I said, we're going. So we went. We had an amazing night. We came back, and we continued our tour. And the following day, we ended up seeing the vineyard that we were going to end up purchasing. And the night before was the 12th night of our trip.
Oh, wow. I like that story.
Yeah.
Do any of you have any questions for the Dahans? If so, feel free to head to Slido and put them in. You got to have some questions. I mean, you know, buying land in New Zealand and traveling from vineyard to vineyard, that sounds awesome.
Yeah, when you did it, it was sort of a remarkable time in that globalization was in full blossom. And yes, the economic meltdown was a wrinkle, but in a way it had a good side in New Zealand because vineyard prices went down. And so it was a good time to buy. But then came, of course, the pandemic, and globalization has sort of changed, I think. And I'm wondering if globalization has changed your experience of owning a winery at the other side of the world.
So it's a very good question. It made us stronger, and it made us switch a little bit what our strategy was going to be going forward, right? In terms of prices, in terms of land prices, in terms of wine prices, grape prices, all of that went up tremendously. There is a very high demand for the wine that we're making, and there is a very high demand for the grapes that we're producing. The issue that we have now is, if we were to make wine and bring it back to the US, can we sell it at a price that is going to be affordable to all of our customers? And that's the problem that we have, because right now we can sell So the wine that you're going to all be drinking after this is our reserve wine. That's the best wine that we have made so far. It's called Scarlet. And that wine is a $40 or $50 bottle, a wine to drink. We can now, if we were to bring back the wine that we would be making in New Zealand, given where the grape prices are in New Zealand, and given how much it is going to cost us to bring it here, because container prices have sextupled. They went from $5,000 a container to as much as $30,000 a container. We would have to charge you $35 or $40 to buy our base bottle. And you're not going to be spending that money. So that's the issue that we're having. So we're only going to bring to the US the very best bottles that we can make so that we can charge a premium price for them. But it's going to be very difficult for us to bring back our best bottles or the basic wine that we make, just because you're going to want to spend no more than $20 for that bottle, and it's not going to make sense for us to do it. So we're shifting the strategy so that we can make sense of it all. But it's, yeah, COVID has had a very big impact on the business.
So we're stuck with the top shelf stuff, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Darn.
So what kind of grapes, this came from the audience, what kind of grapes will do well as climate change progresses?
As climate change progresses. So we are located in an area that's called Central Otago in New Zealand, and the main grape of that region is Pinot Noir. And that's the grape that we exclusively grow in our vineyard, and that's what you'll be tasting tonight. And Pinot Noir is sometimes called the heartbreak grape because it's very fickle. It likes just the right conditions. And so as global warming increases, I think it's going to become more difficult to grow Pinot Noir in the region that we're in. We do still get very cold nights in the winter and the summer, so it does that does help. But Pinot Noir is going to be tricky, I think, as global warming increases. The grapes that would do better are grapes that you would find from places like the Rhone Valley in France, Syrah, Grenache. Those are grapes that really like a very hot climate. And you're starting to see more of those planted in places like California, et cetera. So.
Got it. Interesting. And we have another question. How does the landscape of New Zealand influence wine made there and flavor? I'm interested in this too, because I gotta say, I think my favorite type of Sauvignon Blancs are from New Zealand. I love those.
Yeah, Sauvignon Blanc is about 70% of the wine exports out of New Zealand. So Sauvignon Blanc is mostly planted in a region also on the South Island, but the northern part of the South Island. It's a very maritime climate, so they get a lot of ocean breezes, a lot of cooling breezes. It's a grape that likes a cooler climate. And then the region that we're in for Pinot Noir is very actually mountainous region. It's inland, so we get very hot days but very cold nights. You can see snow in the mountains in the summer. But yeah, the Sauvignon Blanc likes the maritime, the cool breezes, and New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc has a very distinctive flavor profile. It often has a lot of grapefruit and citrus flavors, and there are lots of theories. You know, some say it's the soil. There are even people who say it's because there's a hole in the ozone layer over New Zealand. Who knows? Lots of factors contribute to the flavor profile of a wine.
Got it. And so, another question here. What has it been like running a business on the other side of the world, especially over these last 2 years?
I'll let Arié take that one.
It was a disaster. The first 2 years were a disaster, and we thought we were going in, had been in business for 20 years, so we thought we had everything squared away, and we were thinking at some stage, what are they doing in New Zealand? Are they doing shamanistic dances during full moon? And after 2 years, people ask me, how many times do you go to New Zealand every year? And I said, well, it depends. The more I go, the more you know that we are having problems. So if I go once a year, it's actually pretty good. So what ended up happening is, after these first 2 years, where we were contracting a lot of the work and we're realizing that it was not working out, we did what we were supposed to do after what we should have been doing after day one. We gathered every single French people in New Zealand. And basically, we're now known as Little Paris. Everybody who works in the vineyard is French. The person who's manning everybody is French. He has a degree, an engineering degree in viticulture. You have to remember that in New Zealand, you can be an accountant one day and then proclaim yourself the following day as a winemaker. In France, you can't really do that, and I'm exaggerating, but pretty much that's way. And so we got our main guy, Anthony's been with us for 10 plus years, and Anthony's been manning everybody. Julien is our vineyard manager. His wife works at the vineyard as well. And then we've had a rotation of French people coming from France, wanting to have an experience in the vineyard and helping us, trying to. We basically had a teenager in full rebellion after 2 years. So we had to calm him down. And the entire team actually helped us with that. So, and what this has done is that during COVID, it actually helped a lot, because during COVID, we had a big issue with manpower. We didn't know who was going to be able to help during harvest. During harvest, we need 40, 50 people. And so how were we going to source 40 or 50 people? And we basically, again, because we're known as Little Paris, we got all the French backpackers who are looking for a job to come and work for us. So it's been a great experience.
But I'd also like to add, just from the perspective of managing a business so far away, Arié is the king of the spreadsheet, and has managed to, keep costs under control and really sort of manage things, using spreadsheets, using budgets, using that. And I was in the Auckland airport once, and there was a poster that was sort of advertising the wonders of New Zealand wine, and the catchphrase was, "Good wine isn't made by a spreadsheet." And I said, well, I beg to differ, because that's pretty much what we've done over the past 12 years. So
no, it's been a real team work, and great support from a lot of people in New Zealand and here. Bill and Fran have been very supportive of everything we've done here.
Absolutely.
It's been really, really cool. We've met a lot of people.
Great, excellent. And last question, what does your mom think of your wine business?
She hasn't drunk it yet.
She doesn't drink wine.
Believe it or not. No, she asks about it from time to time, and she does like to remind me that this was not what she had in mind when she said that I needed to buy real estate at the crux of the real estate crisis.
Arié, Beth, thank you so much for coming by and talking
Thank
with
you
us.
for having us.
Thank you
This
for
is a
having
lot
us.
of fun. Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you.
You want to bring back?
Yeah, let's give them another round of applause. Beth, Arié, Darryl C. Murphy.
Thank you.
So I just want to thank the three of you. That was so great. Darryl, I can't wait to hear your podcast. Beth and Arié, I can't wait to try your wine. So thank you both so much. Thank you all. I want to thank our small but mighty membership team who made this happen tonight. And I also want to thank all of you because you are what makes BUR what we are. And I know how incredibly precious your time is. So thank you for spending so much of it with us tonight. So this is it for the stage portion of tonight. But as we foreshadowed here, there is wine and some quick bites outside. You'll get a chance to meet Darryl, Beth Ann, and Arié and taste the wine, which I didn't realize when I heard about this that it was such incredibly fine wine. And I want to thank Beth Ann and Arié because they donated the wine that you're going to drink here tonight. So once again. And while you're out there, say hello to everybody. And also, we would love you to sign up, A, to be a member of WBUR, and B, to be part of our listener panel, because the kind of feedback you gave us here tonight was so fruitful, and it's really meaningful to have us in your lives. And you're also going to have a chance to grab some swag. So this portion of the show is over. Make your way outside and enjoy the rest of the evening. And thank you so much for being part of BUR's life.